Welcome to Money Mastery Hub, where smart financial decisions create lasting wealth. Let's master money together.
Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into some completely mind-bending insights from financial expert Morgan Housel. The core message we're going to unpack is that pretty much everything you've been taught about building wealth, it might actually be wrong. Seriously, it's not about how exceptionally smart you are. It is almost entirely about how you behave.
Let's kick things off with a pretty wild comparison. Think about a guy named Richard Fiscone. He was a Harvard-educated Wall Street executive, right? Elite connections, Ivy League pedigree, making a massive income. Now compare him to a humble gas station attendant and janitor named Ronald Read, who just quietly went about his day. Now common sense tells us the Wall Street executive is destined for lifelong riches. But here's the reality check. That highly educated professional went completely bankrupt during the 2008 financial crisis. Meanwhile, Ronald Read, the ordinary janitor, quietly amassed an $8 million fortune by the time he passed away. How is that even possible? Well, simply by mastering his own behavior.
Section 1. Behavior beats financial intelligence, the true driver of wealth. So here's the thing. Financial independence, it's really not about memorizing complex Greek formulas or knowing secret Wall Street acronyms or being born into some exclusive club. It's actually all in your head. It comes down to this profound idea. All happiness is the gap between expectations and reality. You have the life you're currently living and the life you expect to live. If your expectations are just constantly spiraling out of control, that gap widens. And when that gap widens, you will inevitably feel miserable and broke, no matter how much money is actually sitting in your checking account. And wow, is this expectation gap a massive problem for us right now. Today, you aren't just comparing your house to your neighbor's house like our grandparents did. You're comparing your entire life to the unrealistic, algorithmic perfection of social media. You're endlessly scrolling through Instagram and TikTok, comparing your everyday, normal reality to highly curated highlight reels. The goalposts of success are just constantly moving, and it creates this heavy psychological toll. You start equating your net worth to your self-worth, which basically guarantees you're going to feel like you're always falling behind. Let's actually put this psychology to the test right now. When you see a Ferrari, do you actually admire the driver? I want you to picture a valet parking this flashy, roaring Ferrari outside a five-star hotel. Be totally honest with yourself. Are you actually looking up to the person sitting behind the wheel, or are you just staring at the car? The harsh, kind of funny psychological truth here is that we literally never admire the driver. We only imagine ourselves in the driver's seat. People don't actually care about you or how successful you look. They just want your stuff so they can impress other strangers. When you finally realize that nobody is thinking about you nearly as much as you are thinking about yourself, it completely shifts your perspective. Because of that truth, we've got to take a hard look at where our cash is going. Every single dollar you spend falls into one of two buckets: status or utility. Are you spending money to impress strangers? Strangers who, by the way, don't care about you at all? Or are you spending money to foster a genuinely good life for yourself and your family? Realizing that absolutely nobody is paying attention to your status purchases is incredibly liberating. It wonderfully collapses all those empty aspirations and stops you from buying things you don't even need. Which brings us to Section 2, redefining true wealth, rich versus wealthy. Getting this distinction right is a total game changer. Being rich just means you have enough cash flowing in to make payments on a flashy lifestyle. You can afford the fancy car payment or those incredibly expensive clothes. But being wealthy, that means holding on to unspent assets. Wealth is the money you didn't spend on the car or the watch. It's actually invisible, but it grants you complete psychological and physical freedom. Rich is about showing people you have money. Wealth is about actually having independence. So to actually build that hidden wealth, we have to completely rewire how we think about saving. Savings isn't a punishment. Think of it as an expense that purchases your future independence today. A lot of folks look at saving and think, ugh, why delay gratification? I want to spend this right now. But it's not a restriction at all. When you save, it is an immediate purchase of peace of mind. You are quite literally buying your own freedom to wake up every single morning and say, I can do whatever I want today. And this brings us to a super practical, no-nonsense tactic: 10%. No matter what you get paid, whether you're pulling in a massive corporate salary or you just made $50 in tips from a restaurant shift, automate your finances to save 10% of it before you ever even see it. Take the emotion out of the equation, take the decision-making out of it, and just automate that purchase of your own freedom. So why is saving that 10% so absolutely crucial? Well, because every dollar you save literally gives you waking control over your time. It guarantees you'll survive inevitable job losses or medical emergencies. Because let's face it, life is fragile, and those things are gonna happen to all of us eventually. Plus, avoiding debt means you avoid handing the banks ownership of your future. Every dollar of debt is a piece of your future owned by a lender, but every single dollar of automated savings is a piece of your future that you own completely.
All right, Section 3, the power of patience, compound interest, and time.
Now, a lot of people assume that investing requires some highly sophisticated understanding of the stock market or insider connections. It really doesn't. But what it absolutely does demand is an extraordinary amount of patience. Take Warren Buffett, pretty much universally known as the greatest investor of all time. If you look at how his wealth accumulated, it's wild. You have his wealth acquired before age 60 and then his wealth acquired after age 60. It is just staggering to see how disproportionate his net worth became so late in his life. Get this, an astonishing 99% of Buffett's immense wealth was accumulated after his 60th birthday. I mean, when he turned 60, he was already a billionaire, sure, but he became worth over $100 billion from age 60 into his 90s. This proves that compound interest isn't just about scoring massive, quick returns. It heavily rewards extreme, decades-long patience.
This brings us to a hugely empowering takeaway for the rest of us. Be an average investor for an above-average period of time. Seriously, you don't need extraordinary returns to win. You don't have to outsmart Wall Street hedge funds. You simply need to invest in basic, boring index funds and endure the stock market's inevitable ups and downs without panicking or panic selling. Just be consistently average and let time do all the heavy lifting for you.
But to actually stick to this boring, patient plan, you've got to forcefully keep your expectations in check, which brings us right back to our happiness formula from earlier. I want you to consider this really powerful quote from the legendary physicist Stephen Hawking, who, as we know, was diagnosed with a devastating disease at a very young age. He said, "My expectations were reduced to 0 when I was 21. Everything since then has been a bonus." Now, despite having every right to be angry at the universe, he found profound gratitude for everything he had. Applying even a fraction of that mindset to your financial expectations will instantly make you feel richer, and it'll keep you totally on track.
So let's wrap this up into a wealth master plan with foundational habits you can actually start today. Number 1, check your bank balance daily to banish financial ignorance. 2, automate your 10% savings immediately so you're actively buying your independence. 3, invest in boring index funds for decades and let patience work its absolute magic. And finally, prioritize true hidden independence over visible empty status.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one final, pretty heavy question to think about. Are you using money as a tool to live a better life? Or are you just using it as a yardstick to measure yourself against others? Take a moment and really chew on that, because how you answer this single question will ultimately decide whether you become truly wealthy. Thanks for exploring this with us, and remember, mastering your money is completely within your control.
Thank you for watching and spending your valuable time with Money Mastery Hub. Please like, share, subscribe, and turn on notifications.